Have you ever wanted to explore the world of ethical hacking or cybersecurity? Imagine having access to the same tools professionals use, all from your Windows 11 computer for free. So today, I'm going to show you how to set up Kali Linux on Windows 11 24H2, the ultimate cybersecurity platform, using Windows 11 free inbuilt tool, Hyper-V. And trust me, it's a lot easier than you think. By the end of this video, you'll have Kali Linux up and running on Windows 11, ready to dive into ethical hacking or penetration testing, or whatever you want to. Let's get started. First of all, welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Neil McLaughlin, aka virtualmanc. So I create tech tutorials around virtualization, security, Azure Virtual Desktop, virtualization, NADIO, and much more. So today's mission, we're going to install Kali Linux on Windows 11 using Hyper-V, step by step. So if you find value here, please hit the subscribe button because it really helps the channel grow. So before we dive into the installation, let's quickly talk about what Kali Linux is and why it's so popular. So Kali Linux is a specialized Linux distribution designed for penetration testing, cybersecurity, and ethical hacking. So it comes preloaded with hundreds of tools like network vulnerability scanning, password cracking, wireless security assessments, and even digital forensics. Kali Linux is widely used by cybersecurity professionals around the world, researchers, and also ethical hackers. But here's a cool part. It's also beginner friendly, so it's really easy to use. So whether you're a student or hobbyist or looking to enter the cybersecurity field, Kali Linux is like the perfect playground to learn and practice skills legally and ethically. Just remember, always use your responsibility. Enough of the talk, let's get going and let's get this deployed. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually go and download Kali Linux. So we'll download the ISO file, and then we'll use that ISO file to install it on our Windows 11 Hyper-V virtual machine. All right, so if we head over to kali.org website, so this is the website where you're gonna get it from. So you can see here we've got a download button, so we're just gonna select that, and then it's gonna ask us which one we want. So let me walk you through a few different options and which you've got. First one is install images. So quick tip, that's the one that we're going to use. And then we're going to pick virtual machines as well. So if you've got like running VMware or VirtualBox, you can actually just have a pre-built virtual machine so you don't have to even install it. The reason why I'm doing it install images is because you can see here, you get a lot more functionality. I presume the performance is a bit better as well because you get direct access to the hardware. But you're a bit limited by the existing virtual machines, right? So that's why we're going to go straight to the install images. If you're running an ARM processor, you can actually do that as well. You can do it on like mobile Android cloud VMs. So maybe this is a future video, but you can actually deploy it straight into a Azure VM as well. You can run it as a container, right? So if you're using something like Docker, you can run that as well. You can just basically create a live boot VM, which should just be the USB. Again, we've got some performance issues there, so I'm not going to do that one. And then you can also use something called WSL, which is Windows subsystem for Linux. So that's another way of doing it. Again, the reason why I didn't go for that one is because of all these issues there, like use land actions, not Kali access kernel, and most importantly, no direct access to the hardware, right? So for me, the no-brainer was to go for the install images because that gives me a lot more flexibility around how we do the deployment. And then obviously we've got direct access to like our GPU and CPU and stuff's performance should be a lot better. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and actually download the ISO. So I'm just going to click on install images, and this is the one that we want. So we're going to go 64-bit, right? And we're going to collect this version here. So that's the installer. They can do pre-release builds as well if you wanted to. So let me just select this one here. We also go image for air-gapped networks as well. That includes all the tools that you need pre-built into that as well. That's also an option. So just going to click this download, and that's going to kick off the download for me. All right, so we're back. So I've gone ahead and downloaded the install. So just head over to my screen and I'll show you what that is. And we can see here the file that we downloaded, which is the Kali Linux 2024.3, which is the latest GA version. So I've already gone ahead and installed Hyper-V on my local Windows 11. So just to show you, I'm running 23H2 at the moment. Okay, so this is my Windows 11 machine. I'll put the command on the screen at the moment to show you what command you need to run to install Hyper-V. Quite simple. And then once you've deployed that, you will have access to the Hyper-V manager, which is this thing here. So the only prereq that we've had to do was to basically set up a virtual switch. If you don't know about Hyper-V, Hyper-V is basically a virtualization platform. And for it to communicate with the virtual machines that we create, we need to create a virtual switch, and they will connect to that virtual switch, and that lets you connect to the rest of your network, right? And all I've gone into here is created this external switch, which is actually attached to my physical network connection, right? For example, for the sake of Kali Linux, you may want to connect it to a wireless network so you can do like sniffing and stuff like that. But for the sake of this demo, I've just attached it to my virtual network, my physical network connection, which will give it full internet access and be able to scan stuff on my local network as well. You can also do internal as well. So if you wanted to create like a completely segregated network, we can do that. So I've got like a domain controller. So maybe in future videos, I'll do some testing and show you how to do that as well. But yeah, but for now, we're going to use this external switch to install it on as well. All right. Now, what we need to do now is we need to create a virtual machine. There's some very specific configuration that you have to do. So we're going to go, nope, not quick create. And we're going to go to new virtual machine. Okay. And then we're going to give it a name. So we're going to call it Kali. Okay. And it gives us the option to install in a different location if you wanted to. Now, here's where you need to be very specific. So it has to be a Gen 2 virtual machine. Otherwise, it won't boot. I learned the hard way, right? I tried this last night and it would not boot. And this is why. I'm going to save you guys some time here. So it needs to be a Gen 2 VM. Okay. We're going to give it 4 gigs of RAM. So the minimum recommendation is actually from Kali recommend 8 gigs, but it seems to work perfectly fine on 4 gigs. But if you wanted to, in fact, now let's give it 8. So 8096. Okay. Configure networking. Now this is what I was just talking about. What network do we want to connect it to? So if you wanted to connect it to a internal, completely private network, and we'd select internal, we're going to select external because that's the ones that's actually bounded to my physical network adapter. So it's going to share the settings with that. So just going to click next. Okay. It's going to create a virtual machine. So we're going to call this Kali. So I've already got a few more that I was testing with. So I'm going to call that free, but you probably just call that Kali or the XDX or whatever you want to create it as well. And then that location, that'll be where those VMs are actually created. Well, okay. Install an operating system later. So I'm going to select later. The reason why is because we need to actually go and change the configuration settings on the VM. And we need to basically disable and secure boot. Okay. So we're going to go and select that. Next. And then we're going to select finish. Okay. So that's created the VM. Right. So now we need to go and actually change some settings. So I'm going to go to settings. And this is where we need to change it. So we need to just select that secure boot. Okay, so disable that, click apply, and then click OK. And the other thing we need to actually do is we need to change the boot order. Actually, I need to create a CD drive as well. Forgot about that bit. So we need to create a bootable drive. So we go to settings, and then we're going to go to add hardware. Okay, so it's going to be a SCSI controller, and then it's going to be a DVD drive. We'll click add. And then we're going to select the image file. So the image file is going to be the file that we downloaded earlier, right? So I've already copied it into my software directory, so you can see this one here, right? So Kali Linux installer. I'm going to select that as my ISO file. And then once we've done that, we're going to click the apply button, and then we're going to change the boot order, right? So I want to boot this first, yeah? I'm going to select that. So basically what would happen if I select like network adapter first, it will try to boot off the network first, which we don't want because it'll be a bit of a delay. But this way, we're basically going to boot it straight into the operating system. All right, so click on OK. Okay, in theory, when we start up the VM, it's going to go into the install screen. So let's test this. Okay, to start, connect to the screen. So this is like the console access for the VM. All right, here we go. So we need to go to graphical install. So that's the one that we're going to go through today. All right. The first thing we need to do is select the operating system language. So we're going to select English. We're going to select United Kingdom. So this is our location. Okay. And we want British English keyboard layout. Okay. And now it's basically just going to go and run through the installation. and then deploy all the stuff which it name. So we're going to call this Kali Linux. Domain name. So you can put anything you want in here. Obviously, if you want a corporate network, you put the domain name that you're on. So for this, I'm just going to select virtualmanc.local. Okay. Configure the network. So it's asking me names. So do Buckland. Username. So I'm going to select virtualmanc. That's me, but virtualmanc. Password. Make sure you use a strong password, obviously, please. Here's where if you've got additional disk partitions that you want to use or something, we can set that up here. We're just going to keep it simple. We're just going to use the entire disk, right? And this will actually use the complete disk that's being created. If you actually have a look in the VMs, so if I go to my folder, you'll actually be able to see. So this is the actual VMs that they're using. You can see like the way Hyper-V does it, it expands the disk as it needs it, right? So rather than just creating like the full 120 gig disk or 127 gig disk, it'll only deploy what you need. So you can see some ones I was playing about with earlier, and they use around 20 gigs worth of disk space on your local machine, which is not too bad. So we're going to use the entire disk. Continue. I'm going to select continue for that. All in one partition, yeah. Okay. And then right changes to disk. Then we're going to select yes. Okay, so that's our disk configuration done, and we're now going to basically go ahead and install all the Linux operating system, what it needs, and then it'll install all the Kali Linux stuff on top of that as well. So, see you shortly. Okay, so now it's asking us what do we want to install. So it selects on top by default. We're just going to use the defaults for this. So the most important thing is the desktop environment. So this will be all the graphical GUI stuff. You can install XFCE, GNOME, KDE Plasma, and then the top 10 most popular tools as well. So we can install tools on demand when using Kali Linux. So there's literally thousands of tools. So this is basically just going to install the very latest ones, and the most popular ones. You can get started with it as well. So we're just going to select these, and then we're just going to select continue. Okay, so the installation is now complete. So now we're going to go reboot the machine, and then it should boot into the Kali Linux operating system. Then we'll have a quick look around, and then we'll finish it. Let's go back and click the continue button. It should restart the machine. Okay, so now we can go into the system itself. It's going to automatically boot. Now we just need to put in our username and password. Okay, and we are installed. So you can see here, it's like an operating system within itself. So it's based on the Linux operating system. We have network notification, we have network communication. We can see here we've got the Ethernet connection, so I can look at details of that. Don't want to disconnect that one. Okay, active. Cool. All right. So I'll be back in a second. Then we'll actually update all the components to make sure we're fully secure. And then we'll just explore one or two features and then see what this looks like. Right, so I think the first thing we need to do is actually update the system. So let's just go into the terminal. So the terminal is where you're going to do a lot of the stuff from. Right, this shows it's running under my account. So the commands that we're going to run is going to be called sudo apt update. So sudo is how we manage the environment. So I'm going to type this in here. So sudo apt update. Okay, so that'll basically run and just make sure that everything is fully up to date. So I'm just going to run that now. Password. Yeah. Okay. So we've got 1,794 packages ready to be graded. Okay. So let's see what we can upgrade. Okay, so apt list hyphen gradable. So these are the ones that we are ready to upgrade. We've got some updates that we need to run in here. Let's go ahead and actually run that update. Now we just run sudo apt. Okay. And now we run sudo apt upgrade. So sudo apt upgrade. Okay. Okay, so it's telling me that we need to, download size is going to be 2.5 gigs. So click on yes. Okay, so that's now going to go ahead and download and install all the updates just to make sure that we're fully up to date with it. Okay. Okay, so it looks like those updates are done. So now we're just going to go. So now that it's completed, we just need to go and reboot the VM. So I go boot. Going to restart. I want to make sure that everything's still working. Okay, we are updated. So everything is now fully up to date. So now that it's finished installing, updating, let's just have a quick look around and see what we can actually do here. So I'm just going to flick back to the screen. If you look on the button here, so these are basically all the different stuff we can do here. As I mentioned in the intro, this is like built for security type of focus works, and we can do like information gathering. So these are all the different applications which are installed, and we can do vulnerability analysis. We can do web app analysis, password attacks. So it's really geared towards those security efforts, whether you're doing this legally or whether you're doing it legally. This is a really good tool set to enable you to basically try and hack into whatever you're trying to get into. Yeah, definitely. If you're interested in security or if you want to have a play around, definitely worth installing this. As I said, this is how we can get it running on Windows. Yeah, so that's pretty much it for me today. I mean, future videos will probably go into a bit more in depth around what we can actually do. These things, maybe run one or two security tests or something. But I hope you found this video useful. If you have, please subscribe, and hopefully to see you next week for more content. Thank you. Goodbye.